Congressman Mark Pocan, who joins us in studio this morning. Congressman, good to see you.
Bill, great to see you.
Get any sleep last night?
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
it was a long night. It was a long night.
Right, and it ended up the way I guess we all knew it was going to end up, but it didn't have to end up this way, did it?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, this is, I feel like I'm serving in the nation's largest kindergarten, only we have control of the federal checkbook and the nuclear arsenal. It's a little scary when you think about it from that perspective. And, watching the holding the breath of the Tea Party and, the 46 times that we voted against the Affordable Care Act, it's just ridiculous that they brought us to this point, and I don't think they have an end game.
You mean this could go on and on and on?
I don't know where their end game is. They're clearly not going to change the Affordable Care Act. There's no taste from the public to change the major provisions we passed in the law. There's no taste from Congress to do that. The president said he's not going to negotiate on that. So what is the end game? If the best end game they have, which last night was let's go to conference committee, that we've been asking for 6 months since the Senate passed their budget, I just don't know if the rest of the Republican Party knows where the Tea Party led them on this.
Yeah. You say they're not going to change the Affordable Care Act. Au contraire, right? The Affordable Care Act today has a whole new life with the introduction now of the health exchanges and their availability for the first time.
The one thing actually happening today while we shut down federal government, 800,000 plus people won't be working. We're not going to have monitoring for the flu, for influenza, for asteroids. We're not going to have WIC program. Again, another hit to people who are poor in this country. All the other things that happened with the shutdown, and yet the one thing that they keep claiming they are trying to stop is actually being implemented and starting today, the next stage of the Affordable Care Act. So, again, their rhetoric has been pretty shallow.
If there had been a vote in the entire House for a clean, continuing resolution to fund the government, what would have happened?
Absolutely would have passed. There's no question. That's why they couldn't put it on the floor, because I think enough.
Any Republicans vote for it?
I think a lot of Republicans actually would have voted for it. There's
certainly Peter King said he would have voted for it.
And I think if you look at a number of the folks who are a little more moderate, who haven't had an outspoken role during this Tea Party takeover of the Republican Party, I think they would have loved the chance to have had us continue. And don't forget, that was only to have us continue to mid-November, where they could have had plenty more time to fight if that's what they really wanted. But more importantly, at least we could have kept government open while we're having that conversation.
Yeah, and John Boehner would not allow the full vote in the House because
he would no longer be Speaker. I think if he had held the vote, because he knows it would have passed through the House, and the Tea Party wouldn't have allowed that. And I think they were upset when twice this year we've had to vote. He had to come to the Democrats to pass hurricane relief because Republicans wouldn't pass that. The Violence Against Women Act, he had to come and get Democratic votes. And I think he's been told, if you do this again, you won't be Speaker.
Yeah. So in other words, on his scale of priorities, his one job is more important than the jobs of 800,000 federal employees.
Well, and a whole lot of other jobs. That ripple effect of what you're doing to the economy right now is we're rebounding. You're going to put a potentially crippling effect onto the economy. And let's see what happens with the stock market. But, it could really have a negative effect there. And that's going to affect a whole lot more people. So it's not just that 800,000 people. Right. It's millions and millions of people also that, John Boehner can keep 30 to 40 far right-wing extremists happy in Congress.
So one of your colleagues and a good friend of ours, Congressman Chris Van Hollen, yesterday suggested that the real Speaker of the House today is not John Boehner, it's Ted Cruz.
Oh, no question. Ted Cruz did his, pseudo-faux filibuster last week, and then he came and started reaching out to the Tea Party folks in our House. All I can guess is, this is a strategy, as far as I can see, that, hopefully will make the public realize that those Tea Party folks that got elected in that 2010 cycle have been disastrous. They don't believe in government, yet they want to run for office to run government, and they're running us into the ground. And that's what they did last night. And hopefully the net effect out of this is we can change the face of Congress.
A couple of things about the shutdown that bother me, not just the fact that there is a shutdown, is number one, a lot of people, as you point out, have been furloughed. members of Congress have not been furloughed. They're not only still on the job, but you're still getting a paycheck, Congressman. Is that fair?
No, well, again, this is what happened when we had the sequester and members of Congress had to fly home, and there weren't enough people to get the lines going quicker. Congress changed the rules so that they could get home quicker, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is Congress taking care of itself. So I'm sure you're going to see all kinds of Tea Party members today voluntarily saying, "Don't pay me" during this period, right?
Don't hold your breath.
Oh, it's so hypocritical, that this is the group that wants to shut us down, and yet, of course, they're protected as we move forward. What we need to do right now is do everything we possibly can to get this impasse done. It means the adults in the Republican Party have to take the keys back from the toddlers and run the party like they have to, and get something done like we need to.
Who are they? I mean, seriously. It's not the leadership. It's not Boehner. It's not Cantor. It's not McCarthy. I was asking earlier today, where the hell is Paul Ryan?
I was just going to bring that, Bill. It's an excellent point. I often consider Paul. We shared a county. Our districts are abutting each other. I often think of him as an adult.
Wisconsin, Ohio. No?
No. Paul Ryan.
I'm sorry, Wisconsin, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking of Tim Ryan from Ohio.
Right. Yes,
maybe.
right.
We share Rock County, and he. While I certainly disagreed with his budget proposal that they put out, might be part of the reason why we're at the point we're at. He is an adult in that party.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason why he wasn't kicking and screaming during this.
I haven't heard a peep from him at all, and he's he's vice presidential nominee, right? And he's supposedly their fiscal guy, right? He should be saying, if anybody, this does not add up, right?
Right. Well, I mean, his budget didn't. I think the problem is part of his budget was so bad that a lot of the Republicans actually started to believe it. Which once you do that, you're in big trouble because that was such a budget built on fantasy. And now that they're at the point of trying to get us to that place somehow, although if you think about it, they were getting that through mid-November. They were getting very close to the budget numbers they wanted, and yet they just held their breath even more. So, when people say they're spoiled children, they clearly have been spoiled children, that Tea Party element of the Republican Party. And I think, people like Paul Ryan and others, it's time for them to stand up and take over.
Now, you didn't get much sleep, and I'm sure you haven't had a chance to catch up with all the newspapers this morning. So the other thing that bugs me, though, about the shutdown, and I have a column in The Hill this morning, which I recommend you, is that it's only a partial shutdown. So it seems to me, first of all, if you really believe you should shut the government down, then shut the damn thing down. I mean, the fact that they've left air traffic controllers on the job, TSA on the job, the post office is still going to deliver the mail. It's sort of, they want it to be a painless, relatively painless shutdown, right?
What they want to show is that you can see, look how government doesn't need to be in your life. Therefore, you can, yes, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Now, the reality, though, is the things that do get shut down are things that you don't see right away. But when you don't have the Center for Disease Control monitoring influenza, and we have an outbreak, this is has a real life impact that means lives. When you don't have some of the other things in place, SBA loans. I've been a small business owner for 25 years. I have a union printing shop. The fact that they do $1 billion worth of loans a month, the fact that small business owners right now can't, in this fragile economy, get access to those loans, will have a real impact. But it's not like an impact you feel today in the next 24 hours, but you will feel down the road. So they knew that would be, I think, the effect. But in the real world, it has a very big impact. It's just not something you're going to feel maybe in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, we talked earlier this morning, one of our guests, about the WIC program,
Absolutely.
Women, infant children, and these the subsidies they get for buying healthy foods. And I mean, that program is shut down, and that's going to affect the poorest of the poor again, right?
Yeah, on top of what
Most
they just did
Americans
to
may
the
not
stamp
impact,
program, the food stamp program, the cuts there. Exactly. I mean, but again, it's another real life impact they're going to have. And then on veterans, in a couple of weeks, that money starts to run out for those payments too, but not in the next 24 to 48 hours. So what they're banking on is that people will, in a few days, say, I don't feel this. So, maybe they're right. Government can have a shutdown and we could still operate.
They're banking on the fact that today you look out of that Capitol building and you won't see many people on the mall. There won't be any protest. Americans will just sort of accept this as business as usual. What has to happen? What has to happen to turn this around? What do you think?
Well, I think on the Republican side, the adults have to hear and feel enough that they're going to do it. And my guess is what's going to happen is if you have a poll or two, like we've already been seeing, where people say they don't support this spoiled child attitude of what the Tea Party's done, if they start to feel that electorally, that somehow this could have an impact on the next set of elections, I think that's when you'll find the ability to change things. Quite honestly, I'm surprised we got to this point. I thought, based on everything I've seen up to this point, it would have already sent that message, but they must need to deliver it even harder.